And welcome to Politics on Sunday. Nigeria's security conversation is once again on the global stage, but this time the stakes are far higher. Not long ago, comments attributed to U.S. President Donald Trump alleging a so-called Christian genocide in Nigeria sparked outrage at home, raising concerns about the country's image, sovereignty, and how the world perceives our internal security challenges. One of the strongest responses came from Shehu Gabam, national chairman of the Social Democratic Party, who warned that such narratives posed a direct threat to Nigeria's sovereignty and international standing. But today, the story has evolved. From diplomatic pressure and security threats to missile strikes, counter-terror operations, and indications of more actions to follow. The global war on terrorism is entering a new and dangerous phase. So the question now is this: how should Nigeria engage the United States in this fight? Or where does the collaboration end and sovereignty begin? What does effective partnership look like without external domination? Tonight on Politics on Sunday, Shehu Gabam joins us to revisit his earlier position and to offer his perspective on Nigeria's security strategy, U.S. collaboration, and the fine balance between global alliances and national control. This is Politics on Sunday, where power meets policy and the issues shaping Nigeria's future take center stage. Welcome. Alhaji Shehu Gabam, welcome to the program.
A great pleasure, thank you.
Now, has your perspective changed? Because initially you said the allegation from U.S. President Donald Trump is a threat to Nigeria's sovereignty. But now missiles have been fired at some targets in Tangaza in Sokoto State. What has changed, especially now that we have an understanding that there was a collaboration between the U.S. and Nigeria?
Well, first and foremost, let me thank you for this opportunity, and at the same time, appeal to Nigerians to remain calm. We should work together at this trying moment of our nation, irrespective of our divide. Nigeria first is our historical facts that we have no any other country except Nigeria. Number two, I became extremely worried when I saw the President of America, Donald Trump, granting interview inside his Air Force One, where I said Nigeria is a country of concern. I developed a lot of interest following a lot of analysis, a lot of perspective to that effect. And I get more worried when the Department of War were directed to start preparing war to strike strategic targets U.S. considered as ISIS base or ISWA and so on and so forth. At that point, I knew that there's a diplomatic problem between Nigeria and the United States. Something is not connecting. This is not the first time Nigeria have gone through this. If you could remember, during President Buhari, such things were raised, and Buhari went to America, had a meeting with President Trump, that issues were sorted out. So I was asking myself, was it that there is no diplomatic conversation that will lead the President of America to come up publicly and embarrass Nigeria? What is going on? The government needs to wake up and make sure they tidy up the diplomatic ends where something fundamentally wrong is not connecting. And of course, the D-Day will be monitoring situations worldwide, reaction from every end, military analysts, experts in different fields. Around 12 to 1 a.m., I saw a breaking news from CNN. And it gave me a nightmare that the President of America, President Trump, have ordered striking Nigerian targets associated with ISIS. I couldn't believe the breaking news from CNN. I have to switch to Al Jazeera. And I saw the same thing going on in Al Jazeera. I started calling people around government corridors to know what is the truth about all this. Not too long ago, I saw a press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Indeed.
And of course, not too long ago, I saw the Minister of Foreign Affairs, my brother Tuga, issuing perspective to that effect, his conversation with Secretary of State Rubio. and also relaying same to the President and Commander-in-Chief. And further information from Ministry of Information somehow consoled me that it wasn't a unilateral decision from the United States of America. Nigerian officials and the President are aware of it.
Okay, sorry to quote you now. When you opened your conversation now, you talked about a disconnect. That why did the U.S. President come out to issue such a statement without what you say a diplomatic, without properly or diplomatically communicating his concerns, just coming out to, you say, publicly disgrace Nigeria. But between that time and when these strikes happened, we also saw efforts by the president, a team was set up, they went to the United States, a joint committee also visited Nigeria, and we saw all of these diplomatic shuttles to and fro. Will you say it was largely successful?
Well, honestly, when I saw the delegation, I thought the issue would
Even though too little, too late.
Yes, I thought the issue would be sorted out, led by the NSA. I thought that issue would be sorted out, some kind of understanding will be reached. The first option for any nation is to take care of internal issues and sought the support of America and other countries in terms of lethal weapons, in terms of precision. Nigeria have the capacity to take care of its problem. We have a well-trained personnel, army, and what have you, that have the capacity to deal with these issues, but they don't have the technology that it takes to take care of non-state actors that have some sophisticated equipment to challenge Nigeria as a nation. So, since the visit couldn't solve the problem, and there's a follow-up visit from US, I was convinced that this issue is getting over with. Now, it is obvious that something is outstanding, which led to striking Nigeria directly, even though with the consent of the president. Now, given the situation, and if I make my deductions, I would believe that we are at the point of no return. This is not the first option for the President and Commander-in-Chief. During his tenure, a foreign power to strike Nigeria. And that called to an understanding of shifting our foreign policy. Our foreign policy must be defense-based foreign policy, must be economic-based foreign policy. There are other countries that are willing to work with us, with our capacity, with our enormous resources, with the abundance of talents that is available in Nigeria, and ensure that we get rid of non-state actors that are challenging Nigeria. These non-state actors are not only domesticated in Nigeria, they are ravaging everywhere.
But some people will say, what's changed? Because you are also wondering what changed after all of the diplomatic shuttles. Why did the U.S. still go ahead with that strike? Because you thought that that threat had been averted. Some people say, there was a clear and present danger. There was a real threat in that area. That terrorists from Mali, Burkina Faso, and some of these neighboring, especially Sahelian states, have already converged at a particular location, and they were going to foment trouble in 4 states. They said this is based on credible intelligence, and that is what prompted that attack.
I think the Minister of Defense, when he was the Chief of General Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, have narrated that, have explained that very, very clearly and in clear terms. If we don't take care of situations that is coming from Sahel axis, Nigeria will pay for it. There's no doubt about it. That has been explained sufficiently by General Musa.
So shouldn't you be thankful for this strike?
Well, thank you in the sense that you have gotten to a point of no return. If the facts, according to what they have said, they have supplied intelligence to their counterparts, that they have an understanding in order to avert further killings and maimings and barbarism, it's okay for the country. Because Nigeria is in panic, virtually everywhere in fear. Before that incident, if you could remember, there was a bomb in a mosque in Maiduguri.
Indeed.
There was a fire in Lagos House, which up to now we don't have the detail of what caused that.
It also exploded on the road in Zamfara State.
And then in Zamfara State, yesterday, even today, I saw in one community there was bomb also around Zamfara State. Around this evening, I saw people running in a community. And then you have the debris, according to the Minister of Information, that landed in Ota, Kwara States, and also in Jabo, in Sokoto States. My understanding of debris is that there's an attempt to shoot with either missile or something, and then the debris have to fall down. But in this case, what we saw is something that I've not exploited. which signal a very fundamental issue that need to be explained further. And then if there are accurate information that have been shared, then something is not connecting, that need to be connected. My sincere appeal to everyone, including the government must be able to share a lot of information with Nigerians. This war can only succeed if Nigerians are carried along. The issue of segregation, the issue of regional politics or party politics should be set aside. We need to secure the country. We need to work together. And that led me to the calling of all those that have served this country, both in uniform, in civil service establishments, that Nigeria have invested in, to come together. We should have one voice. We should be united. We should talk about saving Nigeria first. If Nigeria is not safe, if we are in crisis, you cannot go and play politics. You cannot even worship. You cannot do anything. So Nigeria first. I want to appeal to all the religious scholars, political leaders. We should volume down our rhetorics that is dividing our people at this very delicate time that Nigeria is facing. Is one of the most difficult moments that Nigerians are facing. So we need to work together. We need to understand that this is the only country that we have.
Yeah, speaking about toning down the rhetorics, Nigerians have been particularly concerned about comments coming from Shehu Gabam, also his involvement and what appears to be his sympathy for these bandits and these terrorists, now even calling for Nigeria to halt all kind of military or strategic cooperation with the United States, urging the country to rather partner with countries like Pakistan, Turkey, and maybe China. And people are now beginning to even call for his arrest, because this is not the first time we're hearing such comments that some people consider quite insensitive.
Well, some of us that have access to some kind of intelligent or classified issues, Dr. Gumi did not visit the bandit on his own. He sought the permission of the security agencies. Security agencies were attached to him. They went there trying to find probably a diplomatic way of resolving the issue. They were going around the bushes for quite a period of time, trying to convince some of them to come on board. He's one of those who believe in non-kinetics in dealing with these challenges. So it's a matter of understanding where he's coming from and his engagements in the past with the consent of the government of Nigeria. So, like I said, these kinds of divisions or opinions or perspectives will continue across the line. There are other people, religious leaders, that are also extreme in their expressions. That's why I said that we need to lower down the volume and understand that no one will be safe in a situation where anarchy has prevailed. Don't also forget that we are facing election very soon. If the environment is chaotic, I wonder how we can conduct election. Then what will be the end of us?
These are leaders of thought. Some people have said, their silence have allowed this whole insecurity or extremism become a monster that has been very difficult to tame. If people like Shehu Gabam and even some other leaders of thought, especially in northern Nigeria, have access to some of these bandits, some of them tell you that, well, we know them, they grew up in this community, but how did they get out of reach? If you know them, when all of this started, and at the beginning it was first like a child's play, they all kept quiet. So shouldn't, they be held responsible or begin to see themselves as, not being or to have acted irresponsibly when all of this crisis started, and now it has festered into a national problem that has also become a global concern? Isn't it time to begin to look inwards and speak the truth to themselves?
Let me say it in this way. The principle of kinetics and non-kinetics was introduced by the government themselves. So they come up with the kinetics operation, the non-kinetics operation. So I think in trying to manage the non-kinetics operation, there was somehow disconnect on what...
It wasn't properly managed.
It wasn't properly managed.
Indeed.
I saw a lot of presentation on that. But I know all over the world, before you apply non-kinetics, you must have applied sufficient kinetics to attract people's attention to negotiations and understanding. Now, in a situation where people are being maimed and killed, ransom being given, and nothing is happening, nothing has changed, and people are taking laws into their hands, people are feeling insecure. The truth of the matter, even in Abuja, wherever you go, you feel insecure. Then something needs to be done. The principle needs to be modified so that to avoid being misconstrued as government, as a government, and other actors that are playing that role of both the kinetics and the non-kinetics. I also saw the Minister of Defense, when he was the Chief of Defense Staff, disagreeing with the principle of non-kinetics. So if the government actors cannot come together, agree on the operational policy, what needs to be done to overhaul the situation, then we are in for a deeper trouble.
This principle of non-kinetic is a position we have seen mostly advanced by politicians and political leaders, you know, and to a large extent also hinders or hampers the operations of the military, because where they're supposed to get, they say where they're supposed to get commands, you know, to apply kinetic measures, you know, political influence, it's now brought in to slow them down. But we'll talk more about that after this very quick break. Don't go, we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still discussing Nigeria's security dilemma, and my guest is Shehu Gabam, National Chairman of the Social Democratic Party. Before we went on the break, we were discussing kinetic and non-kinetic measures. But why is it more, or does it appear more politically convenient for the politicians to push for these non-kinetic measures? Will it affect their votes in any way? Because some people really don't see the sense in, you know, pushing for non-kinetic when even these people you're advancing these measures to are not even willing to accept it.
I think one thing fundamental is that you need to know the president is the president and commander-in-chief. Once the president gave an order, whether kinetics or non-kinetics, they are bound to comply with it. So the president is in the position to answer this.
But we have seen situations we have seen situations, though some of these communications not official now, where the military have made inroads, even about to retake some territories or about to make some major captures, and then there's a call to stand down. And it's because of some political interference from certain quarters.
Now, who is in the position to make a call to step down apart from the president? Constitutionally, is the president and commander-in-chief. Once he gave an order, no any other individual have the power to step down the president's order. And if that could happen, then we're in a very dangerous situation. We saw a lot of issues around that presented in the National Assembly. What happened in Kebbi in relation to girls that were kidnapped. The governor complained bitterly. It was highly debated. Up till now, there is nothing official to suggest or to indicate who are those responsible for ordering the military to leave that particular location. So these are very germane issues. But like I have mentioned, I believe comprehensively, as somebody that's been around the corridors of power, decisive decisions that have to do with security issues come from the president and commander-in-chief. The president gives direct order, go ahead, deal with it decisively. We have seen a period when Lady Yaradua have given that order. He couldn't live long to see it. We have seen a situation during President Obasanjo when such thing was rearing up. Obasanjo dealt with it decisively. So the president order is an order. No minister of defense, no any appointee of government can counter the president's order.
No chief of defense
No
staff.
chief of defense staff can counter the president's order. If there would be any counter, he has to brief the president, and the president has to give him, okay, based on what you have told me, stepped down from the operation. So that's why I'm saying that the chain of communication and understanding, it is the presidency that can explain this. Me and you cannot, because we don't have access to classify issues, the conversations, what really transpired, what led to stopping of the whole issue, because I believe Nigeria have the capacity to clear these non-state actors. There's no doubt in my mind.
But you know, you say we have the capacity, but we may not have all the tools we need. Like the kind of strike, you know, the precision strike used by the United States. I don't know if the Nigerian army has that kind of weapon. But a lot of Nigerians also welcomed this U.S. strike with a lot of skepticism, and some people are saying that, what else do they want? Beyond these strikes, what kind of conversation, what kind of strategic partnership and collaboration should Nigeria enter with the United States?
I strongly believe that this strike by the U.S. government should stop. They should cooperate with Nigeria, give Nigeria the necessary equipment. Nigeria should buy all that is needed. The danger is that U.S. are not selling weapons to Nigeria. That's what led to this communication gap. Anywhere you are buying weapons, so long as it has U.S. content, you have to seek U.S. approval. So that's why I'm saying that our foreign policy needs to shift. Nigeria needs to be secured. Our military personnel have excelled all over the world. Precision is about machine to be guided. We have some in our armories, armored tankers that have precisions. And Nigerian personnel are the one operating it. Our pilots also operate aircraft that have precision. So it's not about whether they are competent or not. It's about having the equipment that is needed at this very difficult time to deal with the situation. So I believe the Nigerian government should negotiate better, should go into proper discussions with the United States government. This antecedents of fear of U.S. is historical due to what happened in other countries. People believe that wherever America strike, don't end up well. And I think over the years that we have long relationship with the United States of America, we bought Tucanas under President Buhari, negotiated with Trump, and Trump waived most of conditions and sold to Nigeria. There's no reason why we should not restore that understanding, those conversations. Beyond that, there are other countries that have same technology.
Well, if you listen to Tugar, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he's insinuating or suggesting that these conversations have already started, especially now that they have gotten the United States' attention, indeed, and President Donald Trump's attention. But let's talk about neighboring countries now, especially the Sahelian states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They are broken out of ECOWAS and they have serious security challenges in this country. What's the implication for Nigeria? How do we begin to protect ourselves from these weapons and terrorists coming from this region into the country? We also hear that Nigeria Republic has promulgated a decree now, activating all forces and including civilians to ensure that they report any untoward movement, especially after the Tangaza strike, which we hear is very close to the border between Nigeria and Niger.
I think we didn't manage the situation of Niger properly. Niger is one of our closest country, border, very vast land. And the ability to shift ground and look at the national interest, the security interest of the country, wasn't at the center stage. And that is why you are having the problem you are having today. Sahel fighters that are migrating from very open areas with their weapons into Nigeria, creating the kind of damage that we are seeing today.
But when you say we didn't manage it properly, it's not Nigeria here, it's ECOWAS. It wasn't a Tinubu decision, was it?
Before ECOWAS, Nigeria and Niger have been working together. We have bilateral relationship. We share a lot in common. So take away the protocol of ECOWAS. Nigeria and Niger can work out a lot of things, information, strategy. I watched the president of Niger, the military head of state of Niger, narrating information they have extracted from people they have arrested. They communicated to the officials of the Nigerian government. And those criminals that were arrested told them that some of the officials of the Nigerian government are aware. I don't know if you have listened to that interview. It was explicit. And they are threatening to release those interviews right now. Some people's names are there mentioned by the criminals that were arrested. So sometimes
people currently in government?
Yes, they mention names. You need to look for that interview with the Niger head of states and the media organization he granted the interview. He did some of them in Hausa, some of them in French. So that's what I'm saying, that if you don't break the protocol and deal with live issues that would threaten the country, then a lot of things will follow. You see Niger, you see Benin Republic, other countries were burdened, like Chad and what have you, is not something that we will deal with kid gloves.
But Nigeria's swift intervention in Benin Republic, will you commend that too?
Well, I will commend it in the way that democracy survived, but also is a lesson to Nigeria. It's a big lesson to Nigeria. Look, any country or any leadership that believe they have monopoly of everything, they will discover that they don't have. There is nothing like having access to undiluted intelligence. And any system that do not engage in getting undiluted intelligence is bound to have unprecedented challenges. Our security services, particularly DSS, are doing extremely well in trying to get intelligence.
Under the new leadership?
Under the new leadership of Tosin. I know him, he's an operational person. I can always vouch for him. He's doing so much. So the security agencies need to collaborate, need to work together. They must have a saving port of intelligence. Intelligence doesn't fall from heaven. You know, you need to interface with people who have access to a lot of information. So you sieve it and you make it operational. Anything short of that, nobody can predict what is going to happen. Like I've said, we are facing election very soon. You have the political crisis that is enveloping the country. You are having election that is coming up. You are having logistic issues. You are having weaponized poverty. You are having population that are not trained, that are hungry, that are angry. So there must be a way of reducing this tension that is enveloping the country. Above all, I want the president of Commander-in-Chief to understand that it is his own right as a president of Commander-in-Chief to ensure that any officials of government that is not complying with his directive means he's undermining the president of Commander-in-Chief, by extension undermining Nigeria as a nation.
All right. Thank you so much, Alhaji Shehu Gabam. Thank you for your time on the program. And Nigerians also hope that, with this strategic partnership with the US, the undiluted intelligence, you say, will be shared and Nigeria will be safe for all. Well, that's all on the program today. You can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. I am Femi